following is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
After a 6,000-mile, 11-day road trip, the Cincinnati Reds return home to Great American Ballpark. It'll be the Washington Nationals coming to town to begin a big homestand against the Cincinnati Reds. Hi, hello, and welcome to Cincinnati, everyone. Along with the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley and Jim Day, I'm George Grand. Long road trip, but they won 3 out of 4 against Colorado to wrap it up. That's the good news. The tough news is they come to town to face Dusty Baker, their former manager, and a Washington team, Cowboy, that's pretty good.
They've played awfully good baseball, and it's not really about the offense. It's the fact that they have pitched so well. But you look at those numbers, I bet Dusty Baker's awfully happy with what he's gotten so far.
The numbers tell part of the story, but the people tell a whole other part of the story. It begins with, as you would say, Cowboy, pitching, pitching, pitching.
Yeah, you get a new pitching coach in Mike Maddox, formerly of the Texas Rangers. He comes over, he's got a veteran staff, and boy, has he changed some things in this rotation. Not only in the rotation, but if you look at the bullpen ERA, first in the National League. But I think the biggest thing that Maddox gives these guys is some confidence, game plan, and really tweak some of the things that they do best.
In the offseason, the Nationals tried to make a trade with the Reds for second baseman Brandon Phillips. Didn't happen, so they ended up signing Daniel Murphy to a 3-year contract. He's been money in the bank.
Oh, has he ever. He's been their most consistent performer offensively on a team that has, yes, Bryce Harper. 15 doubles, 9 home runs. He's tied with Harper for 34 RBIs. But this guy in the middle of the lineup, he has been a huge key to their resurgence offensively.
Murphy's been a player of the month. He's also been one of the best offensive players in all of baseball for the last 2 months. And that brings us to tonight's starters. For the Reds, it'll be Brandon Finnegan, one lefty who's just trying to learn his way into the major leagues.
I think the big key for Finnegan tonight is pounding the strike zone. Get the ball down in the zone, make these guys swing the bat. They've had a difficult time scoring runs except for Daniel Murphy, but he's got lefty on lefty with both he and Harper.
And Gio Gonzalez will get the ball for the Nationals. Yep, he's the winningest left-hander for the Nationals.
Yeah, you look at Gio Gonzalez, his first 8 starts, awfully good, but the last 2, George, 13 runs he's given up in only 9 and a couple of thirds innings. So tonight, the Reds need to jump on him early in this ballgame.
Coming up, a whole lot more to talk about. Dusty Baker's back in town, but let's take a look back at what was a very productive trip to Denver when we return on Fox Sports Ohio.
Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Oh, we love to see Sam the Bald Eagle from the Cincinnati Zoo. Today, what an appearance he always makes.
Good evening to you guys. Dusty Baker's back in town with the Nationals tonight. Should be a nice game. We'll see mainly dry conditions. Couple showers stay to the south of the ballpark, but temperatures will fall out of the 80s into the 70s. Let's get a win, Reds. Let's go Reds.
I'm Jim Day on the field. I tell you what, the Reds brought home some hot bats from Denver. Not only did they take 3 out of 4 from the Rockies, but they pounded out home runs and, in fact, scored the most runs in a 4-game series since 1999. And look at these numbers as we check out our IGS Bringing the Energy. Hamilton, 471 in that series, scored 5 runs. Kozar continues to hit hot. Suarez bat wakes up, 1.567 OPS, 3 home runs, including his first multi-home run game. Jay Bruce on a tear. Votto's back, waking up. And Adam Duvall, even though the average wasn't there, he hit 3 home runs and drove in 5. It was quite the series in Denver, but a bigger challenge here as Dusty Baker comes back to town. Brian Price and the Reds go after game 1 of a 3-game set coming up on Fox Sports Ohio.
Ballpark, 23-year-old Brandon Finnegan, another start for this young left-hander. He's on his way back to the mound, and the guy in the other dugout remembered coming out of that dugout a whole lot of times. 66-year-old Dusty Baker, 46 years in baseball, 20 years as a manager from 2008 through 2013. The manager here. He's won over 1,700 games. He took the Reds to the postseason 3 times. It was like a hometown homecoming around the batting cage before the game tonight, and he's still sitting there making his notes as the game is ready to get underway. Let's check Dusty's starting lineup for the Washington Nationals as they come in with an 18-10 road record, second only to the Cubs in the National League. Ben Revere, solid outfielder, good offensive player too. Back off the disabled list, will lead it off. You'll have the pleasure of seeing Trey Turner, one of the top prospects of Major League Baseball, make his debut with the Nationals tonight. He'll play second base. Harper, the MVP, Murphy, the player of the month, so you get an idea of the way these guys are playing. Jason Worth, Rendon, Espinosa, Lobaton, and Gonzalez. That's 1 through 9, the Washington Nationals lineup. And Cowboy Brandon Finnegan, if anything, he's shown us he's got guts. He's a competitor.
And he will need that tonight. The Nationals, you look at their overall numbers, they haven't hit the ball that well as a team. But here lately, over the last couple of weeks, those averages are starting to creep up.
Nationals come in with that 33-21 record. They've been outstanding, first place in the East. Finnegan delivers. That's a strike on the inside corner. Laz Diaz is your home plate umpire. Corey Blazer's down at first. Doug Eddings is at second. And Jeff Nelson's your third base umpire for tonight. And tied at third is Eugenio Suarez guarding against a possible bunt. Revere's the whole package. He's got speed defensively and speed on the base paths too. When he's healthy, he's a 300 hitter. That's the big question. Can he be healthy? He had an oblique strain, was on the DL, and is back now. Comes in at only 167. Reds got in about 4:30 this morning at the airport, so most of the Reds didn't get back to their homes till around 6 a.m. Didn't have batting practice today. Showed up at the ballpark. They gave them a little bit of a break. Got in late. Nationals got in Thursday night after winning a series in Philadelphia, so they had all day yesterday. Dusty had a chance to see all his friends. And Cowboy, you know, we all laugh. You could put Dusty Baker on the moon and he's got somebody that he knows, right?
Very well connected. Let's just put it that way.
Bounce to the right side. Finnegan late coming over, and he does finally get there. He was late getting over. Votto finally shovels it to him, and they get the first out. You get an idea of the speed of Ben Revere too on that play.
Watch as Finnegan lets go of the baseball. To the normal eye, he broke on time. To the baseball eye, he was a good second late.
That's a great point. You know, the normal eye is different than the baseball eye, and unless you're a major leaguer, you don't notice those things.
As soon as the ball goes to the right side, you got to be heading that way. You can't look at the ball. You have to know that the ball is hit to the right side. You already break that way. That way, if Votto catches the ball, he takes it himself, then you just break things down. You can't assume that Joey's just going to catch it and go to first.
Well, here's young Trey Turner, just activated today by the Washington Nationals. Ryan Zimmerman put on the paternity list. He celebrates the birth of his second daughter yesterday. Turner's one of the cream of the crop young players at Syracuse this year, where he played shortstop. He's been outstanding, one of the top hitters in the league. And we've talked about it the last couple of years, Cowboy. This is one of those young men who's everybody believes is destined for greatness. And how the heck did the Washington Nationals get him from the Padres?
Trickery.
That's a line drive base hit. What a way to start it for Trey Turner. He's been doing that down at Syracuse. He came in hitting .310, fifth in the league. 38 runs, first in the league, 17 stolen bases, 61 hits at second in the league. That's the way to start it, huh?
When you're facing a young batter, you don't have to throw him a strike. When it's his first, when it's major league debut, the plate looks like it's the size of the mound. He is going to swing at anything close, so there's no need to put the ball over the plate. And that ball was over the plate.
Well, here comes the MVP, the reigning MVP, Bryce Harper. 13 homers, 34 knocked in. He was the player of the month in April in the National League. The guy hitting behind him, Daniel Murphy, the player of the month in May. Turner will steal a base. He stole 15 this year. Good speed and a good base runner. He spent a lot of time with the Nationals in spring training. They were very impressed by him. And Joey's making him feel at home, huh?
Yeah.
Is that your first hit? Is it really? Nice young man. Very nice young man. From the stretch, they'll throw over there once. Now, you remember your first game pitching, but do you remember getting to first base for the first time?
Don't remember that.
That took a couple more years.
Well, as far as getting a hit,
yeah.
Yes, I got a hit in my first at bat.
That's pretty good. And then who was playing first? Who did you get it against?
The Dodgers. That made it even all the sweeter.
Who was it, Karros? Who was playing first?
No, it was, oh, geez, that was before Karros ever got there. I think it was Eddie Murray.
Oh, yeah. 2 balls, no strikes to Harper. That's a strike down and away. Harper's battling a little bit of a gimpy knee. He was hit by a pitch earlier this week, took a night off, back in the lineup now. April started off strong. 9 homers in the month of April. and 24 knocked in. Struggled in May. Hit hard down to second. 4, 6. Yes, sirree, 3. That's the way to do it. Even with the base hit, a 1-2-3 for Brandon Finnegan. Zach Cozart to the bat rack when we return. Nothing to show for it. We go to the bottom of 1 at Great American Ballpark. Let's check the starting lineup for the Reds, as Zach Cozart will lead it off a red hot road trip. He's got his average back over 300. Joey Votto, you say 222, but he's up 15 points after the road trip. Brandon Phillips still battling that gimpy ankle that he injured in Milwaukee. He's in the lineup. He'll hit third. Jay Bruce, who had a strong road trip. Up and down the lineup, the Reds had a strong road trip. Duval, Suarez, Hamilton, Cabrera, and Finnegan. And here's another lefty, Chris. This guy's been around the horn, and he's a dandy.
Yeah, they've got to make sure that they keep Gonzalez uncomfortable. His last couple of starts not so good.
Zach Cozart high in the air to right center field. Over his Revere, he'll haul it in, 1 away.
The key for an offense against a pitcher that's had a couple of bad games in a row is to get on him early. Don't let him settle in and get comfortable, because a guy like Gonzalez, if he settles in, you can kiss the baby.
Gonzalez, now 30 years of age, 6 foot, a little over 200 pounds, native of Florida, Hialeah, Florida. It's his 5th year with Washington. His record 3-3 this year, as we showed you. His first month and a half of starts were pretty good. He struggled the last 2. And it'll be interesting to watch it tonight. Here's Joey. On the Reds lineup, Votto's the only Red with any success. He's 5 for 12 and 2 homers. Cozart's 1 for 13. Phillips 1 for 11. Bruce 2 for 12. So you get the idea. Our steel power tool performer, Joey, career against Gonzalez, pretty impressive. How's this for an OPS, Cowboy?
I'd say that's pretty solid.
Whether you like sabermetrics or not, you're impressed by that number. That's wide.
You know what you were talking about is his first eight starts, George. Gonzalez only gave up 10 runs in those first 8, but he's given up 13 in 2 starts. That shows you how much your ERA can change if you have a tough ball game.
In the dirt, kicked away from Lobaton, who's your catcher tonight. Now, part of the package too, in the last couple of years we've watched, in fact at the start of this year for the Washington Nationals, Wilson Ramos was the starting catcher, and they had kind of built a pretty good rapport, the two of them. Lobaton, not his usual catcher, but you know Dusty. Dusty will try to make sure that every catcher will catch every pitcher as the year progresses. 2-2. In the dirt, will go full.
Yeah, I think the thing that Dusty tries to do, as much as any manager I've ever been around or played for, he's going to try to get his bench players as many at bats as possible. The last thing that you expect a bench player to do is come out and hit a 97-mile-an-hour closer when you haven't played in 10 days.
Full count, 3-2, looped into right center field. That's going to drop. Here comes Votto around first. He's going to try for 2. Revere's got a good arm. His throw will not be in time. So Joey gets another double. And Cowboy, we talk about the offense in Colorado. We saw in 3 of the 4 days some of the best swings from Joey Votto that we've seen all year.
I think it just comes back to confidence, and we're seeing Joey Votto looking like we saw him in spring training, trying to get to the point that we saw last year. But that's a great base running decision by Votto. He knows that Ben Revere is right-handed. He's moving to his left full speed. Very difficult to stop on a dime, pivot, and then fire a strike to second. Ends up a double.
The runner in scoring position in the bottom of the first, and here's Brandon at 254. 6 homers and 23 knocked in. To the stretch is Gonzalez. Short lead for Votto off second. They'll play him straight away. We just left Colorado where the Rockies overshifted a lot on the Reds. The Nationals do not overshift as much as many of the teams that we have in the National League Central. Part of that, part of the organization, but part of it also part of the manager.
And I think it also has to do with the guy that's the pitching coach. And you've got a veteran staff. They're more consistent in the pitches that they're going to make, so they have an idea about where the ball is going to be hit. You don't want to be keyholed as a veteran pitcher and saying, okay, they're all playing pull side, I've got to throw this guy in, and he's hitting 7 home runs off of it.
No balls, 1 strike. Fouled off 0-2. That pitching coach is Mike Maddox. Maddox for a number of years was a pitching coach in Milwaukee and then highly successful again in Texas, and he's in his first year here. That's the brother of the Hall of Famer Greg Maddox, and he always says, I'm older and smarter than my brother. Good pitching coach, huh?
Yes, he is.
No balls, 2 strikes. In the dirt. We always joke, Cowboy, that it was the Reds who forced Mike Maddox into retirement. Danny Graves hit 2 home runs against him into the Crawford boxes in Houston. He said, it's time to pack it in. Gravy will always take those 2 balls and put them on his mantle, won't he?
Well, he's done awfully good in that dugout being a pitching coach.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Brandon. Took a little off way out in front. That's strikeout number 1, out number 2. And here comes Jay Bruce. Let's check their forward defensive alignment for the Washington Nationals. Not only do they pitch well, not only are they hitting pretty good, they're the best statistically defensive team in the National League. Worth, Revere, Harper in the outfield. Rendon, Espinosa, Turner's first game for the Nationals at second. And Murphy moves from second to first with Lobaton behind the plate. They've made only 19 errors on the season. They are the best. The Reds are 14th in the league with 42 errors. So how good has Jay Bruce been in the last week and a half? 10 extra base hits. Not just there goes Votto. They don't even look at him. So he picks the pocket of the left-hander with the shift on, and they do overshift against Bruce. The third baseman Rendon pulled way over to short. So Votto takes off for third and picks up his 3rd stolen base.
That's your third baseman right there. All Votto's got to do is beat him to the bag. And he did.
So Joey's at third, 2 away, and here's Jay. 11 homers, 36 knocked in. Tries to hold on it, but he went around. Those 10 extra base hits in the last week and a half have been more than anybody else in Major League Baseball. I guess you'd say he's accomplishing what he always talks about in spring training, Cowboy, and that's be more consistent. Popped high in the air behind second base. The shortstop Espinosa there, and that'll do it. Votto gets a doubles, left stranded. Going to the second. We're scoreless. Here's your forward defensive alignment for the Reds of Brian Price. The Reds come in 14th in the league with those 42 errors. They've got Duvall, who's been better than advertised in left. Hamilton, great speed, Gold Glove caliber in center, and Bruce always solid in right. Suarez, Cozart, Phillips, and Votto together on the right side again. And Cabrera, Ramon gets the start for Finnegan. The Reds started last week, next to last in double plays in the National League. They turned 5 of them in Colorado, so they're now sitting on 42 twin killings on the season. There's Daniel Murphy, player of the month in the month of May. He signed that 3-year contract in January after the Reds could not make a deal for Brandon Phillips. And boy, it sure worked out for him, and it's worked out for the Washington Nationals. And at 394, 9 homers, 34 knocked in. 394 is #1 in the league.
Yeah, the Nationals went after Phillips. Didn't get that done. Howie Kendrick couldn't get that contract signed.
In the air. Can they get there to first? Phillips is there. Will Finnegan get there? They do. Well, talk about Gold Glove. And this time Finnegan did what he was supposed to do, Cowboy, and thank God he did.
There was no waiting a split second this time. Ball hit to the right side. As soon as you see the ball hit that way, go.
Often you'll see Phillips flip the ball to first. This time he turns and he shows his shortstop arm. And there's Finnegan. Good job to tap the bag before Murphy. Great job on both sides of that one.
Well, you're not accustomed to taking a throw that long on the run when you're a pitcher.
Impressive play, robbing a hit from Murphy. Here's Jason Worth at 225, 8 homers and 26 knocked in. Worth, ever since he came up, and it started, he killed the Reds in Philadelphia. But when he made it to the major leagues, always known for a good eye at the plate, and he continues to, by the end of the year, be a guy that'll be in the top 3, 4, 5 and pitches seen. This one looped into right. Here comes Bruce. Got it. Two away, and here comes Anthony Rendon. You build a team with veterans like Jason Worth, but you also bring in some good young players that can impact the game, and number 6 is one of those, Cowboy.
There's no doubt about that. We saw how good third baseman in Colorado was. Seemed like he picked everything that there was to pick. This kid's not quite there in that department yet, but he's awfully good. Of course, if you're trying to compare a guy to Nolan Arenado,
that's not fair.
It doesn't work real well.
It's like Sparky said when they try to compare Carlton Fisk to Johnny Bench, right?
You got it.
You don't compare anybody to JB. Both Hall of Famers. JB was in a category of his own. Rendon in a 262. A little wide. Nationals on the road have been pretty good. They're 18-10. That's usually good for maybe best in the league, but not this year the way the Cubs are playing. Cubs first in the league, 17-8 in road baseball. That's a walk, a free pass to Worth.
See, those are the kind of at-bats for Brandon Finnegan that gets him in trouble. Not right now, but as the 5th and the 6th inning rolls around. 2 outs and 4 consecutive pitches out of the strike zone. When you get 2 outs, you need to kick it into high gear and pound the strike zone.
Here's Espinosa, who played a lot of second base for the Nationals and now has moved over to be the regular shortstop. They also have Stephen Drew, who can play second, third, and short on a regular basis. Still got the power numbers, 7 homers and 21 knocked in, with his average hovering around 200 most of the year. He'll crowd the plate. Always be one of the top 3, 4, 5 batters in the league at being hit by pitch. And similar to most years, he's been hit already 7 times this year. And you know about the Reds story. They've hit more batters than anybody else in the National League. Of course, we're not playing the Pirates today. Or the Brewers, for that matter. Short lead down at first for Rendon. Finnegan turned 23 in April. Born in Texas, went to school in Texas. Reds got him in the Johnny Cueto deal from Kansas City last year. Well, after 6 straight wide ones, there's a strike, and it's 2-1.
Watch Espinosa at the plate, the way he stands, real tall, and the numbers show it a little bit with the 7 home runs and the 200 batting average. He is wanting to come out of his shoes at anything that gets close.
2-3-1.
This goes back to what I was talking about with Rendon. This is a 2-1 slider. If you're going to throw it, it's got to be a strike. It can't be a no doubter.
That is 2-2. That was a strike. It's 2-2. This would slap the other way. He likes it here. Over 300 for his career and a couple of home runs.
If they called that strike on the swing or the pitch looked down.
Yeah. There goes the runner, and they got him picked. Quick flip, and they will get it there. Good job by Phillips. Trying to avoid the tag was Rendon, and he stutter stepped, but Brandon still got the tag on him. Good job. The Reds get a pick. See if they're going to challenge as Dusty Baker's looking behind him to see if they want to challenge. It looks like he never touches the bag, and he is tagged before he touches it finally. Now, storylines from Great American Ballpark. Most extra base hits by a team's outfielder in the year 2016. Well, you know about the Rockies. We just left them and their power outfield. You know about the Red Sox and their offense. How about the Reds, Cowboy?
Well, you got an outfield with Jay Bruce and Adam Duvall. That ought to tell you something in itself.
Here's Adam, 260, 14 homers, 31 knocked in. You talk about the player of the month. Murphy from Washington. This guy had more homers than anybody else in the month of May. 11 of those 14 came in May. And we talk a lot about he's all of a sudden burst upon the scene. But when you look at his career coming out of Louisville, going to Louisville for college, and then coming up in the Giant organization, here's the 1-1. I mean, in the minor leagues, he had 130 home runs. So it wasn't like he just was parachuted from the moon. But he's gotten so much more consistent, and his at-bats have had so much more presence.
Well, I think as you get older as a hitter, you realize, okay, I can hit it in the upper deck and hit it 500 feet, and it looks great because I'm swinging as hard as I possibly can. But if I swing at 90%, maybe I'm not going to swing at that slider in the dirt. I'm going to give myself a split second longer to read the pitch. And then if I hit it 420 feet, guess what? I still get to run around the bases.
Well, he's been using the middle of the field so well. That's up high.
It seemed like last year, George, every time he swung the bat, we're talking about Adam Duvall, his arms really got away from him, really trying to just hook it and hit it as far as he possibly could. He made an adjustment during the offseason and in spring training. He's shorter.
Hit pretty good to left, curving towards the corner. It's going to be one hop off the top of the wall. Round first, going to second. And Adam Duvall picks up a two-bagger, his 14th double of the season.
When you're short to the ball and you still can provide power, that ability to wait just a little bit, it just exudes confidence. And I think that is exactly what Adam Duvall has now. He's confident at the plate. He feels like anything you throw him, whether it's 97 or 67, he's going to be able to center it up.
So Duvall gets double number 14. He's in scoring position. The Reds had a double from Votto, couldn't convert it in the first. And here's Eugenio Suarez. After going 0 for 28, he came to life in the last couple of games in Denver and capped it off with a 2-home run game yesterday. Now 12 homers and 31 knocked in. Cabo, you grew up in Alabama, went to Mississippi State. By the way, congratulations. Mississippi State back into the hunt for the College World Series trip to Omaha.
And they won today.
That's a good way to start.
Yes, it is.
Can't get there till you win game number one.
You got that right.
There was always been a great competition among athletes from Alabama or athletes from Mississippi. And it was great to watch in Colorado because this young man, Eugenio Suarez, is from Venezuela. Carlos Gonzalez, Gerardo Parra, both from Venezuela, and they kind of spurred each other on in that series. That had a little something to do with the intensity he played with.
You don't want to play embarrassing baseball by someone you've got to see all off season. You see right now with the pitches from Gonzalez, he's trying to make Suarez make contact with an off-speed pitch so he'll pull it to the left side and hold the runner at second base. Anything hard down and away, that allows Suarez to shoot the ball the other way. Best case scenario, he scores him. Worst case scenario, he gets Duvall to third base with one out.
Rifled through the middle of the infield. That's going to make it to center. Here comes Duvall around third. He'll score, and the Reds take a 1-0 lead. Oh, another productive at bat from Eugenio Suarez. 32nd run batted into the year. A double by Duvall, a single by Suarez, and that gets some Reds fans on their feet. 1-0 Cincinnati.
Tried to go away, a fastball, and instead of the ball running off the plate, it starts in the middle and just runs to the outside corner. Suarez does a great job just taking it right back where it came from.
That's an old adage, isn't it? Right back where it came from.
Right back where it came from.
It's a good hitting philosophy. You don't have to talk about mechanics. You talk about the mental approach, huh?
I didn't like him hitting them up the middle.
Here's Billy Hamilton, 255. He left Denver with a career batting average of over 400 against the Rockies. He peers down at Billy Hatcher, who rolls through some signs for him. And Billy's at a high water mark of the last month with his average at 255. Short lead for Suarez. This one blooped into center. That will hit turf, rounding second, but holding there. Billy was halfway to second. He thought Suarez was going to go to third. And Suarez, I think, probably misread it initially, thinking that somebody was going to catch it, or else he would have been on third, and Hamilton probably would have been on second.
Yeah, I think with nobody on, Hamilton is standing at second base. But Eugenio Suarez doesn't quite have the speed of Billy Hamilton, and you could really see Ben Revere charging. And to be honest with you, I thought Suarez made the right decision there.
It's funny to watch Billy, though. I mean, you talk about, remember that when he was running up Cozart's back on the last homestand, he scored about 5 feet behind him. If Suarez had gone one more step, Billy would have been 3/4 of the way to second.
And Hamilton is the most intense base runner I think I have ever seen. He is looking at every single minute opportunity to get to the next base.
Here's Ramon Cabrera. He helped himself. The one game he started in Denver in for Tucker Barnhart, he had 2 runs batted in, one on a ground out, another on a base hit that helped the Reds win game 3 of that series. Breaking ball misses. Well, once Devin Mesoraco went down for the season again, Tucker Barnhart once again became the #1 guy. But he's going to need to take a blow here or there. I mean, not a big young man, and he plays so hard and takes such a beating behind the plate. And Cabrera's come up with some good at bats when he's filled in.
And I think when you're looking at Tucker Barnhart, he has not caught a full season behind the plate in some time, because he's been at the big league level, either backing up or filling in certain spots with Devin when he had the hip issue and now the shoulder issue.
1 ball, 1 strike to Ramon. The 2 runs batted in Colorado, the 2 lone runs batted in he has on the year so far. Hard off the plate. He may end up on first base. The throw will not be in time. The bases are loaded. Good hustle by the diminutive catcher. Nice play by Espinosa, but on the high hop off the plate gave him enough time to get to first. So they're loaded. Still nobody out.
That tells you how high that ball was. Because Cabrera does not have great speed. No. He does have great hustle. And he came out of the box smelling a hit as he saw that ball bounce high into the air.
Now, Cowboy, we started tonight talking about which Gio Gonzalez would show up. His first 8 starts were superlative. He struggled in the last 2. Mike Maddox is trying to stop the bleeding right now with a visit.
Well, you and I were talking earlier. If you can get to any veteran pitcher early, you don't allow him to settle in. And what it does in the back of his mind, even if you have great confidence, if you're getting hit, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, all right, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? So you're concentrating on the negative rather than when you're striking out every batter coming to the plate, you're like, I am on, I am on, I am on.
Well, here's Finnegan, who's been the Reds' best hitting pitcher. He's also been a pinch hitter for Brian Price. He's got the bases loaded and nobody out. Trying to help himself here. There's a big breaking ball for strike 1. Twice on the road trip he pinch hit. When been asked to, he's gotten a bunt down. Here he's just trying to get a base hit and give himself a couple of more runs. Down to first. It is foul.
I think Brandon Finnegan right here is thinking more along the lines of grand slam.
Yeah. For the first almost 2 months of the season, he had the only hits that Reds pitchers had. And you watch him take BP. He looks solid at the plate. He's in a hole here, 0-2. Got him. First out of the inning. Bases still loaded. Hey, Reds fans, the 2016 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot is here. Head to Reds.com to choose your All-Star game-worthy stars and send them to the MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard on July 12th. This year it'll be in San Diego. Vote today. Vote tomorrow. Vote at Reds.com/vote. Last year, a great week of activities here at Great American Ballpark. This year, the festivities moved to San Diego. Here's Cozart. That's a base hit into right. Here comes one run. Here comes Billy. They'll hold him up. The throw to the plate right on the money. Charging from the get-go was Bryce Harper. And a wise decision, even with the speed of Billy Hamilton, a wise decision by the Reds' third base coach, Billy Hatcher, because he would have been a dead duck.
Well, where the Nationals had Daniel Murphy playing, if you're on the base pass, because this ball was a line drive through the infield, even at second base, you got to freeze for a moment. And after Hamilton saw it go through, then he turned it on. But you're right, George. Harper got to that ball in a hurry.
So Suarez started it with a run scoring single. He scores, and it's now 2-0 Cincinnati. And here comes Joey. The Reds' highest average with runners in scoring position. 8 different Reds are over 300 with runners in scoring position. 8 regular Reds, which is pretty impressive. In the first couple of months where the Reds have struggled, that's the one thing where they've been pretty good. There's Joey at 368. Doubled on a 3-2 pitch first time up. Bases still loaded. 1-1. Now the other part of any starting pitcher, Cabo, you came up as a relief pitcher. You did become a starter, but so many starting pitchers want to get into a groove, want to get into a feeling that they're in control. And from the get-go, Votto doubled in the first. He's been pitching from the stretch most of these first 2 innings.
Well, it's a mental exercise when you're out there on the mound. When you make a pitch that you think is a good pitch, and they hit it hard or flip it in for a base hit, in the back of your mind you're thinking, all right, I've got to do a little bit extra. I got to do this. I've got to move the ball there. So you're not concentrating on positive thoughts. You're concentrating on negative thoughts. And for a starter, when you get going good, when that first and second inning is good, everything's positive.
Almost clipped Votto on the arm. Inside for ball 3, 3-1.
I think every starting pitcher wants to go out, get them 3 up, 3 down in the first, and then you start to build that feeling of invincibility. And that's how you have to feel when you're on the mound. But right now, Gio Gonzalez is feeling anything but invincibility.
Comfortable either.
Yeah. Not comfortable at all.
Full count, 3-2 to Votto. 1 away here in the second.
I wasn't sure I was going to get invincibility out that second time.
I wouldn't even try. You got it out. I wouldn't have made it. That's what happens when you get in at 4 o'clock in the morning, doesn't it?
Got that right.
You need a little ice cream. He got Votto. Joey strikes out. Second out of the inning. Now the infielders can drop back, and here comes Phillips.
Fastball down and away. You can see this 4-seamer almost cutting, if you will, but it is right on the money. And if you're looking for anything but the hardest pitch that a pitcher has, you're going to have a tough time speeding up. You can always slow down and lunge to the ball. You can't speed up if you're looking off speed.
3 strikeouts for Gonzalez. His first was Phillips in the first inning. Here comes Brandon. Six hits for the Reds already these first 2 innings. They stranded a runner in the first. They got 3 out here in the second. 2 runs, 6 hits for Cincinnati. No runs, a hit for the Nationals. Ball and a strike.
A lot of great places to sit at Great American Ballpark. Great view from the right field stands down the line. And there's a whole bunch of great fans out in that corner too. We always enjoy it when we get to do a game out there once in a while. And a perfect night for that. Line drive, center field, 1 run scores. Here comes Cabrera. He doesn't have much speed, but he's going to get there, and the throw will go to third to hold the runner at second. Phillips shortens his swing, pops it into center. The Reds put 2 more on the board, and they lead it 4-0.
It almost looked, George, when Revere got to the baseball, you could see this high fastball. It's supposed to be a sinker. That's a 2-seamer, and he just leaves it up over the plate. It didn't sink at all. Phillips takes it right back up the middle. Nice piece of hitting. But as Revere got to the baseball, he hesitated for a moment, and then he had no play at the plate. The only thing he could do was get the ball to third to keep the runner from advancing.
As you look at that replay, you can see where Cabrera was and where the ball was. Most third base coaches, the byline is if your runner gets to the bag before the outfielder gets to the ball, you send him. It was almost even Steven, and had he fielded it cleanly, especially Cabrera doesn't have great speed, he had a chance to get it. 4-0 Reds. Here's Bruce, 9th batter of the inning. Jay in his career 2 for 13 against Gonzalez. First 2 months have been pretty good for the Reds right fielder. He steps to the plate here in the second, leading the Reds in runs, total bases, and runs batted in. Sitting on 36 runs batted in now. 6-game hitting streak for Bruce. In the air, deep to right, but it's going to stay in the park. Harper's under it. Reds will strand a pair, but they plate 3 and lead it 4-0.
Reds over the Nationals. Friday night baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. Let's update you on some Reds pitchers. We got to see Homer Bailey, who's coming back from Tommy John surgery, was near coming back, then had to be shut down. He will go off the mound tomorrow for the first time in his second attempt at coming back, but it won't be anytime soon that we're going to see Homer in a Reds uniform, because Brian Price says he's going to throw about 7 or 8 times on the mound before he would go out on a rehab stint. They're going to be extra cautious with Homer this time around. Again, it is a 12 to 16 month injury depending on the person. Also, Anthony DeSclafani is set to throw tomorrow in Louisville, and he will, hopefully for the Reds, that'll be his last rehab stint. We might see him on this homestand should everything go well. And Michael Lorenzen is very, very close to coming back. He will be in the bullpen, so light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully.
Thanks, JD. Espinosa to the plate. He had a 2-2 count on him when Rendon was thrown out trying to steal second, and it's a ball and a strike here in the third. JD, you were down on the field as Cowboy was there. We were there when the Nationals took batting practice. The Reds did not take BP today after the late arrival. It was pretty neat to see the Reds one after another come out, and Dusty would come over to them. Chris Spire would come over, and of course Chris Heisey's on this club too, and Paul Lessard, the former trainer. It was like a homecoming, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It was a parade to the batting cage where Dusty was, and there were hugs all around. And Dusty Baker, a guy, he talked before the game. He said, hey, listen, you know, I was the first extended manager for Joey Votto. Jay Bruce was a rookie when I got here. Brandon Phillips was barely into his major league career. These guys basically grew up under me. And he says those are memories that will last a lifetime, and you can't replace them. It's all about people in this business, and tell you what, a lot of love going around for Dusty. Good to see him.
We'll hear more from Dusty as the night continues. Espinosa fouls it off, and there's Paul Lessard, soon to be a grandpa. He was in town yesterday playing golf, and as we surmise, Cowboy, somebody else paid for it. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Espinosa, who's had really 2 at-bats to get a bead on this left-hander facing him for the first time.
Well, if there was ever any indication about Dusty being a player's manager and his players loving him, that was a perfect indication today behind the batting cage.
Swing and a miss. It kicks away from Cabrera. He bounces up, gets it to Votto, so it'll go as a strikeout. That's number 1 for Finnegan, first out of the 3rd inning. And really, I mean, Dusty Baker and Brian Price is one of those guys too. They combine very well together. When Brian was his pitching coach, they have a great respect for each other. They work so closely together. And what Dusty Baker did when he came to Cincinnati was teach the Reds how to win again. After a period of time where they were trying to get their culture back, I mean, give him credit where credit is due. He took them to the postseason for 3 years. He won over 90 games. He taught them what you had to do to win again. There's Lobaton, 1 hopper to Cozart. 2 away.
Yeah, I think in that same sense, George, the winning baseball, you have to let players kind of have a little bit of leeway, but you also have to have a line that no one can cross. And there has to be an accountability issue, but you also have to let the guys be free spirits in a sense as well. I mean, we're not talking about 50-year-old guys that have been around a long time. You're talking about guys that are just out of their teens and playing their dream.
Here's Gonzalez.
Basically have fun, but don't have too much fun.
And always know that the guy that sits in the manager's chair has the hammer.
Yeah.
1 ball, no strikes. Best manager you ever played for?
Davey Johnson.
Would you say he was the smartest? Off the field, he sure was.
Tell you, probably one of the smartest managers I played for was Roger Craig. He just seemed to have an idea about everything that was about to happen and not going to happen, and where to try to take advantage of the other manager.
1 and 2. Swing and a miss. A 1-2-3 for Finnegan. Reds lead it 4-0. Here comes Duvall when we return.
hits the Toyota sign during tonight's game. Robert Gumbert from New Richmond, Ohio will win this beautiful new Tundra on display here at GABP. You can register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers.
JD, they're waiting for you. They're waiting for you by your condominium. They're waiting for you upstairs. They're happy to see you home, huh?
Well, that rail right there looks like if they beat on that, it'd be a little tougher than the aluminum one I think they have up there by the set. Want to pound on that stone one right there.
There's Adam Duvall, 3-2 pitch in the second. He led off with a double. That started the Reds on the way to a 4-0 lead.
You look back at that second inning. That's only the 5th time this year that the Nationals have given up 4 or more runs in an inning. Only the Cubs have fewer of those types of innings.
High in the air down the left field line. It'll go foul. 14th double for Adam. Sitting on 31 runs batted in and 14 home runs to go along with the 14 doubles. You know, he's rooting for Louisville in the college playoffs. We'll be updating some college scores for you as the night progresses. Ohio State playing down in Louisville, as well as the Cardinal. Xavier in the postseason. Big weekend, the Memorial Golf Tournament up in Dublin.
I think Xavier might be at Ole Miss.
Yeah, they are either Tennessee or Mississippi, one of those regions.
Tennessee's or Vanderbilt. They might be at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I thought they were at Ole Miss.
Reds outfielders have as many extra base hits as anybody in baseball, and this guy's right at the top of that list. Oh, boy, right on a breaking ball, and he lines it to third. One away.
George, I look at Adam Duvall, and still a very young hitter. He got a lot of season left. But if he can stay with this type of swing, short, quick to the baseball, not a whole lot of body movement. He's not jumping at the baseball. He's trusting his hands, knowing that he can still get to the ball inside, but yet his body allows him the timing to be able to catch that breaking ball and hit it like that. I mean, that was a rocket.
After the Duvall double in the second, Suarez singled him in to make it 1-0 Cincinnati. And here's Eugenio up for the second time. All right, you're Gio Gonzalez, and you watch Duvall, who now has a very compact swing, and you watch Eugenio Suarez, who has that leg kick. What do you see? What do you read as a pitcher when you see a guy with a leg kick? Rocket left, curving towards the corner, going to be gone.
Nope.
Is it gone or is it? No, it is in play. It's in play.
Head off the yellow line.
Wow. Brian Price is out looking at Rob Coughlin, saying, do we challenge or don't we? They're going to confer down by the third base bag.
Yeah, George, as far as that ball kicked back in, it looked like it hit a bar or something as it came off the yellow line. I think it's a home run.
It'll be an umpire review as the umpires confer, and they're going to go take a look.
I think it's going to be a home run.
It looked like it hit the top of the padding and then carried back.
It hit that pole right
there, boom, and back.
And then it came right back.
That's at the end of every walkway in the decks. There's a steel barrier, so if somebody walks down those stairs and trips, they're not going to fall over the wall. And that's, you don't really see it because it's painted dark. Well, when you get to the end of the stairway, there's a pole that sits up about 8 to 10 inches, and it looks like that's where it hit because it clearly hit the top of the padding. Look at the pole right up above the white padding. Boom, boom.
Yeah, that is a home run. I don't even know that it hit the padding. It hit behind it.
Well, it's a somewhat delayed ovation for Eugenio Suarez, but now 3 homers in the last 2 games, 13 homers on the season, and the Reds lead at 5-0.
You were asking me, George, about how I would look at a guy like Duvall with a short, quick swing, or a guy like Eugenio Suarez with the leg kick. What I always tried to key off of was the front hip, whether they were left-handed or right-handed, and their hands. Did their hands come forward? Did they open too soon? Did that front shoulder pull out? Those are the things that I tried to key off of. And if you were pulling off, or if I saw even the slightest movement of your hands coming forward, I went away.
Billy Hamilton dumps a bunt down. Gonzalez will flip it, and they'll get him by half a step.
But it goes the other way if the hands stay back, that shoulder stays closed, and that tells me that you're looking for the ball middle away. That's when I'm coming in, and I'm trying to come in right at your hands and make you speed your hands up and try to cheat to get to the baseball.
A swing with less movement over the course of a season is more efficient, but as you see that swing, once you get the foot down and you have rhythm to your swing, Suarez brings a sweet swing to the plate.
The key, what you said, is get that foot down. There are a lot of hitters that have that big leg kick, but if you don't get the foot down, even when you make contact, you're going to hit it right up in the air. Pop-ups.
Here's Cabrera, singled in the infield first time up. Five runs, 8 hits for the Reds, and they've got a 5-0 lead on Gio Gonzalez.
You know, most of those hitters, George, that their front shoulder comes out, hip comes open, hands start to come forward, they drop their hands, so they're really susceptible to the high fastball.
Bounce right back to the pitcher. They'll take care of it. That'll do it, but not before Eugenio Suarez delivers another one. 2 runs batted in on the night. Now 32 for the season. Home run number lucky 13 for Suarez. 5-0 Reds. And you'll need the all-new Fox Sports app. Get highlights, interviews, injury updates, scores, and instant alerts on your favorite teams and their rivals. Download now in the iOS App Store, Google Play, or visit foxsports.com/app. Joe Luckup, you got that? I figured you would. Our statistician, Joel Luckup. Good to see you, Lucky. Great to have you folks with us, and great to have folks all over the ballpark on a very pleasant night. Great series this weekend. Tomorrow it'll be the Nationals against the Reds, game 2 of the series. Dan Straley goes for the Reds. Steven Strasburg 9-0 and an ERA of under 3. Will face Eugenio Suarez and the Reds. Then on Sunday, tomorrow's game, a 4 o'clock game, so Reds live at 3:30. Sunday, it's a 1 o'clock game. Reds live at 12:30. So Finnegan back to work and back to the top of the order. Ben Revere, he bounced to first time up.
Well, through the first 9, Finnegan has had some pretty good command of the strike zone.
Breaking ball, sneaks it in on the inside corner for a strike. 1-2.
Finnegan can throw this breaking ball on both sides of the plate. Watch him. He starts it at the front hip of the left-hander. You see a little bit of hesitation by Revere, and it snaps right over the corner.
Phillips, quick flip, 1 away. And just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, they were sure doing that up in the upper decks. The shot you just saw. You can look forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. There's Trey Turner, just activated today from AAA for the Nationals. Originally signed by San Diego. Always highly regarded, and regarded in, depending on what compilation you look at, either the 6th or anywhere to the 10th best prospect in Major League Baseball in the minor leagues this year. Came up for a brief period of time at the end of last year. Sent him back down to play shortstop. He's playing second here tonight, but the probability is this kid from Boynton Beach, Florida, is going to be the shortstop here for a long time.
And I think that's the only reason that he has been down, is continuing to work on the footwork, fielding of the baseball, just trying to smooth out those actions at shortstop.
3-0 in there for a strike. Came from a pretty good draft class, huh?
You got to say so.
And he's going to be on for the second time. Base hit his first time up. A walk this time, and keep your eye on him. He stole 15 bases down in the minors, and all during spring training they let him run at will. Dusty wanted to get an idea because he hadn't really seen him in Dusty's first year as manager, and he gave him green light and liked the way he took his leads. And of course, what he has is something that not many other people have. That's Davey Lopes as his first base coach, maybe one of the best base running coaches in the history of baseball. Lopes stole over 500 bases for his career. And you know, everywhere Lopes has been, not only did they steal bases, but usually, I mean, most recently in the East, he was with Philadelphia, and they were every year over 80%. So it's not just stealing bases, it's teaching them to steal a high percentage of bases. He came from the Joe Morgan school. Not just numbers, but steal them when you need them and keep your percentage high. Here's Harper, bounced into a double play first time up. All spring training long when Lou Piniella joined the Reds and spent time in Goodyear, and he evaluated a lot of the young Reds players. Cabo, you were there, and now the word was, you know, what do you look for, Lou? He said, well, first thing I look for in a hitter is bat speed. And he mentioned, you know, for the Reds, guys like Jesse Winker and Peraza, young players that have bat speed. Boy, this guy at the plate has bat speed.
He definitely does. He can generate the bat speed, and power comes along with it. He's got a little bit of uppercut with the swing, and that allows him to lift the ball out of the ballpark. But right now, that it just seems like that knee is bothering him more than what he is letting on.
Before the game, Dusty Baker saying today he's in the lineup. Is he 100%? No, but he's in the lineup.
But Harper also has a very good eye. And he's got great hand-eye coordination. Otherwise, he couldn't coil up the way that he does and still spin and hit the ball with authority.
Down low, and it's 1-2. Unanimous, yes, unanimous most valuable player last year in the National League. 4th youngest all time to be an MVP. And they're all by a matter of days. Johnny Bench is on that list. Line to center. That's going to drop in front of Hamilton. The throw will come to third, and staying at first will be Harper. Harper was 100% when that throw went to third. He might have gone to second, but you could tell he's not running 100%. So it's 1st and 3rd.
He hit that ball right on the screws. Look how long he waits before he goes after that pitch. That's the toughest thing for any hitter to do, is to wait. And Harper waited, and then that's where the bat speed comes into play.
We get a chance to watch Billy Hamilton, but you got a pretty good view there, and it looks like
I think what they're going
the Reds are going to challenge that play at third.
I think they're going to say that the base runner came off the bag. Trey Turner, as the tag was being applied, he slid in, and he may have popped up just for a moment, and his foot came off the bag. And if that's the case, that's big trouble in River City. Watch the slide. Now watch his foot pop up off the bag. That right foot. See that? That's what the Reds are challenging.
But is Suarez still making contact with him when he does pop up?
Looks like it.
Yes, he's up. He's off the bag. Well, if that is the view they're seeing in New York, give Rob Coughlin another bonus, Cowboy. The Reds video man.
Say, I've seen some plays that Rob Coughlin has called into the dugout that even we didn't see in the booth on the replay, nor did the coaches, nor did the players on the field. But it's that type of play that you just take for granted. Okay, he beat the throw there, and he's fine. But he's out today.
How about that? Well, Rob Coughlin dials up a big decision for the Reds. So instead of 1st and 3rd and 1 out, there's a runner at 1st and 2 away. A lesson for the young infielder.
See the foot definitely off the bag, and the tag is being applied. And I can assure you, Trey Turner thought he never came off the bag. It's momentum as you hit the bag, and then your body starts to come up. You got to stay on that bad boy.
So the putout goes 8-5 for the Reds. Harper with the single is sitting down at first. And here comes Murphy. One ball, no strikes to Daniel. Murphy's always been a solid compact hitter, but boy, everything came together at the right time. You know, we talked about it when Carlos Beltran had that great run in the postseason, and he parlayed that into not 1 but 2 multi-year contracts. And Murphy parlayed a great finish where he was the MVP of the National League Championship Series into a 3-year big money deal with the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, Murphy has always been able to get the fat part of the bat to the ball, but I think his thought process has always been over the shortstop, left center field, or over the second baseman. And I think now he's starting to see balls quicker that he can drive, and he unloads on them.
And he'll very readily credit Kevin Long, his hitting coach in New York last year, former hitting coach with the Yankees, now with the Mets, is really fine-tuning him to the point where he became more of a power hitter and not just a guy that took the singles.
not just a handsy hitter now. He's using his hips and his lower body to generate that power.
1 ball, 2 strikes. NLCS MVP, 7 home runs in the postseason for him last year. 3 hopper down to second. Phillips has it. So credit Rob Coughlin with a big assist for Brandon Finnegan. Hey, you ought to buy him a dinner soon. It's still 5-0 Reds.
You know, when you live and die and cry and laugh with a bunch of guys for a long period of time, you form bonds that, you know, that are forever. We had some very pleasant times here, these are some of the things that I'd like to, you know, always remember. And plus my son, you know, more people here ask about him than they ask about me.
And Dusty says he still stays in touch with Reds players now and again. Jay Bruce texts him photos of his young son that he and his wife recently had, and he'll hear from players from time to time, and they'll seek advice. And not many people have seen more baseball than Johnny B. Dusty Baker.
And Johnny B. loved his time here. Number 3 on that all-time Reds list of winners at 509 victories and 20 years of managing, 19 years as a player. And I mean, Cabo, you know it. You know, he almost never had the chance to come back again. After he left the Reds, he'd make phone calls. Nobody returned the phone calls. And it wasn't until Bud Black turned down the Washington job that he got the chance to manage in Washington. In fact, took a contract that was far below what they had even offered Bud Black, and Bud Black turned it down. But he knew this was my shot, and he was only allowed to bring Chris Spire with him, the only coach he was allowed to bring with him as his bench coach. Everybody else was either hired already or stayed in the organization.
Yeah, but he's former teammates with Davey Lopes back in his Dodger days.
But Davey was already hired,
right,
and Mike Maddox was already hired before he took over. And Dusty can work with anybody.
Yes.
And he was right. Little D, his son, he was a joy. We all loved him. That's a call, strike 3. Finnegan strikes out for the second time. Darren he was an early commit to Cal. They live, of course, in Sacramento, and he's been an outstanding young baseball player. He's been part of our USA baseball program. He's growing. He looks like Dusty looked like when he was a kid. He's long, lanky, big feet, big hands, and a pretty good little player, too. Here's Zach, fly ball to center and single to right that knocked in a run. Showing bunt with Rendon playing way deep at third.
Yeah, Dusty's kid that I knew the best was Tosh, his oldest daughter. And she was probably 13 back when I was playing out in San Francisco.
Fastball up high, swing and a miss, 0-2.
She taught me that, well, I won't say taught me, but She tried to teach me the dance, the running man. And of course, Dusty got a big kick out of that.
You got video of that?
No, not that I'll show. Square-bodied Southern boy trying to do the running man. Not too good. But we had a lot of fun.
And you remember his dad. His dad was a big bull of a man. I still have the book that he and his dad wrote about hitting. Swing and a miss. Cozart retired. 2 strikeouts in a row here in the 4th. 2 away. In my career, if I list the 5 best hitting instructors I've been around, Dusty Baker's on that list. As part for managing, he was one of the 5 best hitting instructors.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be around Dusty, not only as a player, but also as a broadcaster. Hal McRae, I thought, was a phenomenal hitting coach.
And you and I both remember when Dusty went back to San Francisco for the first time when he was the Reds manager after being a very successful manager with the Giants. His dad came to the game. That was shortly before his dad passed away. His dad was not well, and he had tears in his eyes. His dad has tears in his eyes as he watched him get a standing ovation at Candlestick Park.
It was loud.
AT&T Park.
It was loud.
1 ball, 1 strike to Joey, who struck out first time up. Lobatone sets up inside. And he gets Votto for the 2nd time. 1, 2, 3 go the Reds. 3 straight strikeouts. Worth will lead it off when we return. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is being brought to you by your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further, and by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on United States News Best Children's Hospital. Great to have you with us here at Great American Ballpark. The Reds 5 runs, 8 hits, and no errors, 3 left on. The Nationals no runs, 2 hits, no errors, and a batter left. Cincinnati leads at 5-0. Here we go to the top of the 5th. Worth, Rendon, and Espinosa due up. If you joined us late, the Reds scored 4 in the 2nd. Run scoring hits from Suarez, Cozart, Phillips. A home run by Eugenio Suarez in the 3rd made it 5-0, and that's where we stand. Jason Worth flied to right first time up. You talk about the compact swing of a Bryce Harper. At the other end of the world is the big looping swing of Jason Worth. Still generates power, though.
He did start it awfully early. And when you've got it, when you're on the mound and you see a hitter like Jason Worth that gets started really early like that, that's the pitch that you start in the middle of the plate and then get it off the plate quick. See this pitch here? Ball starts, looks like a strike, bounces, and he can't lay off of it. When you have to start so early, that's the key to having a short swing. You can wait longer. Worth can't wait. Worth is one of those types of hitters, George, that if you're just steadily pumping fastballs down and away, and I don't care if you're throwing it 100 miles an hour, he is going to hit a bomb out of right center field.
2-2. Oh, he hangs with that. What a play by Cozart. Can he get it there in time? He did. Wow, what a play by Zach Cozart. Hit right on the button by Worth. Cozart right on that reconstructed knee, turns and still gets enough on it to get him at first.
The more that Zach has played this year, the less he's concerned about the knee and the more he is turning into his normal defensive self.
Man,
those are plays earlier in the season. I think he would think about it a little bit before the pirouette and the plant. Now it's just instinct and reactionary.
Brilliant play by the Red shortstop, one away. So already the Reds, and we talked about it coming in, the Nationals #1 in defense, the Reds 14th. But they've come up with some key defensive plays already in this game that have helped keep it a 5-0 Reds lead. And you know, you talk a lot. I mean, you're on the pitching side of it, Cowboy, and defense goes hand in hand with pitching. Here's the 1-0 to Rendon. But yes, the Reds bullpen and some of the starting pitching has been disappointing. The Reds defense has been disappointing this first half.
Yeah, I think there was some hesitancy when Suarez first took over at third base. I mean, the kid's learning a new position. He's been a shortstop his whole life. And I think when you look at what Zach Cozart had to begin with, a lot of the errors that Zach made were throwing errors because he just didn't feel comfortable planting on the back foot to throw. There were a lot of off balance throws. We're not seeing that now.
When we were in Denver, what an outstanding two-way defensive infielder. Vinny Castilla, who's with the Colorado Rockies, came over and spent some time with Suarez just talking about footwork, handwork, making the transition from short to third, because that's what he did. He was a shortstop when he came up and moved to third. A walk to Rendon. Well, 1 out, 1 on, and here comes Espinosa. Kroger and the Reds are proud to team up to offer you a great value this season, the Kroger Meal Deal. Check concession stands throughout the ballpark for the Kroger Meal Deal, which includes a hot dog, bag of chips, 16-ounce Coke, and during the homestand, Wheat Thins and America's favorite chocolate chip cookie, Chips Ahoy. Make sure you get your Kroger Meal Deal today. And if you want a, Cowboy, we'll give you a couple of Cokes.
As long as they're Mexican Cokes. They'll be looking good.
Looking good. That's wide.
Well, George, you know as well as I do, when you're playing an infield position, it doesn't matter if it's first, second. There's 4 of them out there. As the pitch is coming to the plate, you have to be on the balls of your feet. Your momentum has to be coming towards the plate, so you're aggressively searching the baseball. And when you're not, and you're flat-footed, you're dead.
Big swing from Espinosa, foul back, 1-1. Struck out first time up.
When you're playing shortstop and you're flat-footed, you can make some adjustments sometimes, and it doesn't show up as much. When you're at third and you're at first and the balls get on you, and I mean right now, if you're flat-footed, you can't catch it because the balls have topspin, especially a right-handed batter to third or a left-handed batter to first. You have to be in a good fielding position every single time.
Nubbed down the first base line, but foul. 1-2 to the National shortstop. Mississippi State's in the playoffs, so is Zach Cozart's alma mater, the University of Mississippi.
I cannot believe you just mentioned those two schools.
I wanted to get you going.
Sentence. That is heresy.
Here's the 1-2. A little low.
There goes the invitation. I was going to have you down. Not now.
I'll be coming to the cookout, but you'll be cooking me.
You got that right. Well, I won't be, but the other boys will be.
All right, you talk about Michigan, Ohio State, USC, UCLA. Down there, it's bloodlines, isn't it?
It is.
And it's always been a recruiting battle, too.
Oh, yeah. Alabama is about to hire a new baseball coach themselves. Coach Gaspard resigned. With the money they have at that school, I imagine they'll put out a wide net.
2-2. Off the end of the bat, a high fly ball to left. Duval there. Adam has it, and 2 away. And that'll bring up the catcher, Jose Lobaton.
When you look at college baseball now, George, it's not the same game as when I was in college.
Oh, no.
Because you have guys that are much closer to getting to the big leagues. Now, we might have had 1 or 2, maybe a guy like Pete Incaviglia that could sign and come straight to the big leagues, or a guy like Will Clark. He signed maybe a month in the minor leagues. He was in the big leagues. But this day and age, you've got a lot of those types of players that are playing college baseball. So the names that you see throughout some of these major college programs, it may be less than a year and you see them in a big league diamond, depending on how polished they are.
Here's Lobaton, who grounded his short first time up. I mean, look at Andrew Benintendi, who won the Golden Spikes last year. Cincinnati native, out of Arkansas, rocketed to the Red Sox farm system.
Kyle Schwarber,
yep.
Michael Conforto.
Finnegan to the stretch. Rendon off first. Down and in for a ball, 3-0.
I just think that you're seeing much more precise teaching at the collegiate level than we've ever seen before. They're teaching those kids to be successful at the big league level rather than just be a good college player.
That's a strike. You talked about concentration for Brandon Finnegan. Goes 3-0, walks a batter also in this inning. Part of the growing process, huh?
It is. You just can't let your guard down when you get 2 outs. That's when you have to throw it into 5th gear.
Three and 2. Runner off and running from first. Here's your 3-2. That's hit hard. Here comes Duval. Got it. Hit hard, but no harm. Reds still lead it 5-0. Phillips to the bat rack.
Lead off for Cincinnati now. Recently, Brad Keselowski, the former Sprint Cup champion in NASCAR, was in town to promote the upcoming race at Kentucky Speedway. He got a batting helmet from Brandon Phillips, and today Keselowski returned the favor. Phillips got a driving helmet from Keselowski. Now look at that bad boy. It's sweet. Brandon was surprised, and you can see his reaction, but an even better reaction when he puts that bad boy on. Looking good. By the way, the inscription that Brandon put on that batting helmet he gave to Keselowski with his signature, quote, "Shake and bake." That would be a quote from Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights.
We'll get him out to the track before the year's over.
Ricky Bobby, that was a true story, right?
Sure was. Ground ball down to second, 4-3. Put out, Phillips retired. Brandon 1 for 3, singled in a run in the second inning. Now, last night in Denver, every Reds position player for the second time in 3 games had a base hit. And tonight, Jay Bruce is the only Reds position player without a hit thus far. Hit the ball hard to right, 0 for 2, and a pop up to short.
Well, it's not too much to expect Bruce to hit a home run off of a left-hander. He got a whole lot of those.
Nobody else has hit more of them in the last 5 years. Now sitting on 219 home runs, over 1,000 hits. On the corner, you could tell Bruce didn't like that call. 1-2. For 3 is Jay. 2 away here in the 5th. Here comes Adam Duvall. And a reminder, Sunday the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing heads to the Tricky Triangle at Pocono, where Martin Truex Jr. looks to defend his title from last year. It all begins Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, only on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Tricky Triangle. You ever been there, Cowboy?
I have not. Pocono is in New York, I take it?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Haven't been there.
Favorite NASCAR spot?
Talladega.
Talladega.
Used to go there when I was growing up as a kid.
You and Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. There's been a lot of movies about Talladega.
Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
Sing me a song.
Probably closer to the truth.
Swing from Adam and a miss. Duvall doubled his 14th of the year to start the Reds rally in the second, and hit a blistering line drive to third baseman Anthony Rendon in the 3rd. That's up high and away.
You come down 65 from Tennessee down into Alabama. You look off to your left. You see those RVs as far. I mean, they like go into the end of the earth, it seems.
In the middle of all the pine trees.
And Talladega rolls in, and the 500 rolls in.
2 balls, 2 strikes to the Reds left fielder. Just missing, and for the first time tonight, the last 2 innings, Gio Gonzalez has gotten into the rhythm you talked about, Cowboy.
Yeah, he gave up the home run to Eugenio Suarez, and he has really buckled down since then.
Full count. 2 strikeouts in the inning, 8 strikeouts for the night, but the Reds on the scoreboard have the big number, 5-0 lead. February. Reds lead 5-0. 4 of them came in the second after Zach Cozart gave the Reds a 2-0 lead. Brandon Phillips base hit to center made it 4-0 Cincinnati. That's the way it stayed until with 1 out in the 3rd inning. Eugenio Suarez got his 2nd hit of the night, his 2nd RBI of the night, his 13th home run of the year, and the Reds led it 5-0. They checked it. Yep, it was over the yellow pad and into the seats for a homer. Meanwhile, Brandon Finnegan, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, couple of strikeouts, and 2 pretty good defensive plays as well. The Reds have used the D with a double play. They're 42nd, 43rd of the year, and they take a 5-0 lead into the top of inning number 6. Here's Gonzalez, the pitcher, down to 3rd. Tricky hop. Suarez takes care of it.
Nice play.
Sometimes when you're swinging the bat better, you're feeling better too, huh? Comfortable.
Got that right.
1 away in the 6th. Here comes Ben Revere. 0 for 2. Ground out to 1st and a ground out to 2nd. Both of them took pretty good defensive plays to make the play. Trey Turner on deck. Laz Diaz barks out a strike 1 call. Breaking ball, slap foul, and it's 1-2. 5 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Reds. 3 left on, no runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 left on base by Dusty Baker's Nationals. Pop to short. Cozart there. Out number 2 of inning number 6, and here comes Turner. Hey, start your weekend off with a bang with Fireworks Fridays at the ballpark. Next week, see your Redlegs take on the A's for just $12. Plus, stick around after the game. Enjoy a fireworks show presented by the Jeff Weiler Automotive family. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Best fireworks in baseball tonight, next Friday, too. And hey, we'll get to see Bob Melvin will come to town with Oakland. Always good to see Ray Fosse too, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Fosse will come in.
Good guys.
Yep.
Bob Melvin's my former catcher when I was with the Giants. Melvin and Brindley. That was the
That's
tandem.
a combo. That's a combo.
And they were light years different in their personality.
But the only thing that counted was they knew what their job was.
Yeah, Mike Aldretti's on that staff as well. He played when I came up to the big leagues for the Giants as well.
Hit hard. That's a fair ball. Turner will have his 2nd hit. He'll be on base for the 3rd time. Deep into the corner. Duvall will get it, and Turner will settle for a double. 2 for 2 and a walk for Turner.
This kid can hit a little bit.
Boy, I'll say.
Pretty good stroke. Fastball cutting in, gets the bat head right to it. He has the leg kick, but as you and I were talking about earlier, he gets the foot down, and as he gets the foot down, everything accelerates.
Well, here's Turner with a left-hander on the mound. Turner, great speed, and now with the overshift of the Reds, Suarez well off the 3rd base bag. With Turner's speed, if Finnegan doesn't keep an eye on him, he'll take 3rd. 2 away. Here's Harper. Bounce into a double play. Singled in the 4th with Turner on 1st. Turner tried to go 1st to 3rd and beat the throw to 3rd, but after Hamilton's throw to Suarez and the tag was made, came to completion, he went off the bag. Suarez kept the tag on, and after a review, he was called out. Good call by Rob Coughlin, and the Reds, instead of first and third and 1 out, there were 2 outs, and Harper was sitting at first by himself, and they got out of the inning on a ground ball out by Murphy.
And for those that don't know who Rob Coughlin is, he is sitting in the video room with his finger on the red button that causes the first base dugout.
If you missed it, another look at the play at third. Keep the tag on.
Watch his foot. Just off the bag. Tag applied. That's tough to see when it's in fast motion with the naked eye. But Coughlin has the ability to slow things down, and he's precise. When he hits that button 99% of the time, you get the call.
As they are in New York at the replay center. 0-2 to Harper. Didn't get all of it, and it'll stay in the park. Got in on him just a little bit. Bruce has it. Double no harm in the 6th. To the bottom of 6 we go. Suarez leads it off. 5-0 Reds.
Game here in Fox Sports Ohio. 30 minutes prior, it's Reds Live. The pregame edition is presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Tomorrow, a 4:10 start here at GABP. Dan Straley, who's been perhaps the most consistent Reds starter, and he will go against, well, I've never really heard of this guy, Steven Strasburg, but I heard he's pretty good. 3:30 for Reds Live tomorrow.
Out of the same mold you're out of, JD. Pretty good. Pretty good. Here's Eugenio Suarez, 2 for 2, a single and a homer. Yesterday in Colorado, Suarez had 3 hits, including 2 home runs. I guess he's over the funk, huh?
Yeah, after breaking the 0 for 28 streak, he's now 8 for his last 16 with a double and 4 home runs. I'd say he's back.
Single knocked in a run, the homer, his 13th of the year, 2 runs batted in. And there's another bullet. This one into left center. He's going to take a big turn. Revere over. He'll field it cleanly, so staying at first will be Suarez. 9 hits for the Reds now, and another leadoff batter on.
Now this is a fastball up and away, and Suarez not only goes up and gets it, but he tomahawks it past the shortstop.
Here's Billy, single to center to keep a Reds rally going in the 2nd. And was out when the pitcher Gonzalez made a nice play on his effort to bunt his way on. Rendon even with the bag at third. Murphy holding the runner at first. On the corner for strike 0-2. You can call it the Coors Field factor. I mean, you know, the Rockies always hit well out there, and the Reds certainly hit well in their series out there. Here's Gonzalez delivery, breaking ball misses. But the Reds do seem more comfortable at the plate this week than they've been all year.
I think a lot of teams do that. You may be struggling offensively. You get in there, you become more aggressive at pitches because you're playing in that ballpark. All of a sudden, you just carry it with you back to wherever you're going.
We talked about Votto earlier, but I think we would both agree, Cowboy, that we saw some of the best at bats from Billy in Denver. He had 2 3-hit games.
Yeah, not only in Denver, but leading up to that. Just much better swings, much better contact, not pressing so much.
Down to short, 6-4, and not in time to first. And we'll see with the runner erased if Billy will be off and running from first.
A breaking ball pitch, that big over the top hook, trying to backdoor it. Hamilton gets on top of it, and he beats it right into the ground. And for most base runners, that's a routine 6-4-3 double play.
Here comes the number 8 hitter, Ramon Cabrera, the catcher. Infield hit and a bouncer back to the pitcher. VR still leads the league in stolen bases with 19. Marte with 17. Billy sitting on 13 coming into tonight. Billy will talk to anybody, and when Murphy playing first, he's like Casey. I mean, at second, he has nobody to talk to, but at first, he looks like he's pretty comfortable down there. Could you imagine Sean Casey holding on Billy Hamilton at first?
They'd have to call timeout.
Two of the most likable guys you'll ever run into. Short lead for Billy, not going. That's low. Steps out, looks at Hatcher. Billy Hatcher rolls through some signs over on the other side. Freddie Benavidez, the Reds' first base coach, dips in behind Hamilton. Hamilton always has the green light. He's going. Center field hit pretty good. Revere going back, reaching up. He's got it. Billy already to the second base bag. Will trot back to first. With Hamilton, the steal is always a possibility. The only options you'll think of will be a run and hit or a hit and run. Or, with the way Cabrera's been swinging the bat, we'll hope that he can sneak one in the alley.
Cabrera hits this one right on the screws. A fastball that cut back over the outside corner. Stayed right on it.
There comes Finnegan. 2 strikeouts for him so far tonight. 2 away here in the 6th. He's reached one of the goals of every starting pitcher. Get 3 at bats, right?
Got it.
Not so much the 2 strikeouts, but you get 3 at bats, you know you're in there for 6 or 7 anyways.
It is interesting to see the different mechanics of a veteran like Gonzalez and a youngster like Finnegan. But the different mechanics is what makes them unique. Finnegan's throwing that hard slider. And Gonzalez has started to pick that up a little bit this year, but his main pitch is that curveball to go along with his mid-90 heater.
Two. You look at the annals of Washington National baseball, and of course the Nationals began as the Montreal Expos. Dusty, when he was a Dodger, had some great battles with the Montreal Expos. There's a broken bat down to second. Second baseman Turner will take care of it. So the Reds leave a runner stranded. Still lead at 5-0 though.
Brought to you by T-Mobile. How about the Mariners? They were down 12-2 against the Padres and rallied to win the game 16-13. First MLB team to win after trailing by 10 after 5 innings since 2001. David Wright back on the disabled list with a neck injury, and this is a big blow for the Giants. Hunter Pence will miss at least 8 weeks with a hamstring injury, and you know he's one of the heart and souls of that team. Giants playing well, but Hunter Pence, apparently that hamstring tore completely off the bone, so they might be searching for an outfielder to replace him.
You're right, JD, and there's some players that have impressive numbers and other players that are even better than their numbers and their value to a team, and Hunter is one of those guys. And certainly, with the Reds have made it clear that they tried to trade Jay Bruce, and you got to figure now you would put Kansas City, Baltimore, and the Giants on that list of possibilities that might be interested in a guy that started as well as Jay Bruce has. Giants have always liked
Jay Bruce because he has hit in their ballpark.
There's Murphy. 2 ground ball outs, 0 for 2. Breaking ball misses inside for ball 1.
Brandon Finnegan trying to become the second Red starter with at least 2 starts of 7+ innings. Finnegan pitched 8 innings in Los Angeles.
That's a strike.
The other one, believe it or not, Alfredo Simon.
What did you see that you liked from Simon yesterday?
He had command of his sinker. Everything revolves around the fastball for most starting pitchers. If you can't command the fastball, you can't start.
I've been waiting for him to uncork a couple of those 65-mile-an-hour pitches. He finally did in Denver.
He did. He just holds it like a split finger, and as he gets to release point, He throws it with a stiff wrist instead of snapping it down. He threw some pretty good ones.
It's a good sign for the Red starters. Here's the 1-2. Jammed him, fouled off.
Looks like Daniel Murphy is having a really difficult time picking up the fastball on the inside part of the plate against Brandon Finnegan. The ball looks like it's starting over the plate, and as it gets into that last 2 or 3 feet, starts to run in, and tough for Murphy to pick it up.
A little low.
Short, quick slider today from Brandon Finnegan. Big sweeping hook from the left-hander Gio Gonzalez.
Two. Popped up. Is there going to be room? Cabrera will not have enough room into the seats.
See, again, that pitch is almost on the hands of Murphy as he makes contact. Now he sees it out in front of home plate as a pitch. Okay, I can get the bat head to it and drive it. Watch where this pitch is when he makes contact. I mean, it is right on the label.
Hopper down to Phillips, and once again he takes care of him. 3 ground balls to second for Daniel Murphy on a night where the breaking balls have been working for these 2 pitchers late.
Yeah, they have. You look at both of these breaking balls, and you can see Finnegan here. He's really behind the ball. Now on this side with Gio Gonzalez, the fingers are around the ball here, and that makes it more difficult. You see the short, quick bite by Brandon Finnegan, but watch this big drop on the ball from Gio Gonzalez. You're still getting the same effect, the swing and the miss. Gonzalez's pitch is a little bit slower. Finnegan's a little harder. Just the difference between the slider and the curveball.
Jason Worth, fastball inside for ball 1. Worth flied to right first time up and then led off the 5th with a rocket to short that Cozart made a brilliant play on to throw him out at first. Not get cheated there. One ball, 1 strike. Anthony Rendon on deck.
Finnegan got away with one right there.
I was just going to say the same thing. A hanger up high.
High breaking ball. It spins. The speed is what really caught Worth off guard. This is not where you want to throw a slider. If it's up around the catcher's helmet, that's danger zone.
Comes back with a fastball in the same spot. Worth just hangs in, fouling it off. Been around a while. Picked up his 200th career home run last month against Miami. In fact, we talked earlier about Davey Lopes. Lopes spent so much time when Worth was in Philadelphia and Davey was in Philadelphia, impressing upon him on the importance of not just stealing bases, which he could do, but stealing the right bases at the right time. Utley was in that same category, and Jason Worth still remains one of the best percentage stolen bases operatives in all of baseball. He's at 86% for his career. That's impressive. Want the fastball up? They do, but it's out of the strike zone.
Yeah, when you're facing a guy like Jason Worth, you're really trying to get the ball basically an L, up and down on the inside corner and down low across the bottom of the plate.
So after being 0-2, it's 3-2. right field line, deep into the corner, curving. It will be in the bullpen and out of here. Flick of the wrist from a strong right-hand hitter. Jason Worth picks up his 9th homer of the season on a 3-2 pitch. And on the board are the Washington Nationals. It's 5-1.
That pitch was up and out over the plate. And that's not a spot that you want to go. You want that L to be from the kneecaps up to the hands. And then the bottom of the L will be across the bottom of the strike zone. Anything that's up and away where he can get extended, that's what he can do with it.
He's done that over 200 times in his career. That's home run number 9 of this year.
You watch Worth as he comes to the plate. This is really, you're really trying to get the ball into a spot that's in here and then out across the bottom. And Finnegan kept going in there and kept going in there, but he kept fouling it off, and then he missed in there. Well, even if you miss in there, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go away. A hitter's weakness is a hitter's weakness. But Brandon's strength is taking the fastball and sinking it away from the right-handed batters. Well, that ball was not sinking, and it wasn't down. It was up and out over the plate, and it cost him a run.
Rendon, 2 walks. And you had the feeling, the book on Worth is breaking balls down, fastballs up. And the 2 fastballs he called for up were both way out of the zone at 3-1 and 3-2. Those are the pitches he wanted.
Yeah, and you want that. You want the fastball up close to him, close to his hands. Because if you get the fastball up and it's out over the plate, as we saw Suarez tomahawk that ball earlier, Worth can do the same.
Fly ball right field. It'll be in the seats, out of play. No balls, 2 strikes to Anthony Rendon. Rendon walked in the 2nd and was out trying to steal the end of the inning. He walked in the 5th and was left stranded.
I'm sure that Brian Price would like to see Finnegan battle through this inning. But this is the point in time where Brandon starts to get himself in trouble a little bit. He knows he's feeling fatigue. You start to feel a little bit of lead, a little bit of weight in your arm.
Center field, that'll drop in front of Hamilton for a base hit. So a 1-out base hit after the home run by Worth.
But the key to being a starting pitcher that can pitch consistently deep in the ball game, you have to know how to handle it when your body gets tired and your arm starts to feel heavy. You still have to make pitches. You got to get a little more reach to the plate, and you have to change speeds more. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to really hump up, because that doesn't work.
They'll get a nice ovation. Brian Price out, Finnegan gone. 6 1/3 innings of 1-run baseball. He's pitched great on this night. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Woods on his way in. Finnegan's on his way out. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Back at Great American Ballpark, the numbers on this one: 5 runs, 9 hits for the Reds, a run, 5 hits for the Washington Nationals. Brandon Finnegan exits, 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run. The runner on first, his responsibility. 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, 110 pitches. He pitched well, hoping the bullpen can hold it right here. And Cowboy here is Blake Wood.
Blake Wood on for the 27th time. And I'm sure that manager Brian Price would like to get some semblance of regularity at this point in the ball game to get some guys that he knows will give him a consistent performance as you get to the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning with the lead.
There's Danny Espinosa, struck out and flied out, 0 for 2. Espinosa, the switch hitter, batting from the left side for the first time tonight. Runner on first, middle of the infield, double play depth for the Reds. Jose Lobaton, the catcher, is on deck. Fouled off. The bench for the Washington Nationals: Stephen Drew, the veteran infielder from the left side, along with Clint Robinson, Michael Taylor, Wilson Ramos, the other catcher, and a familiar face, a familiar name, is back in the ballpark from the right side, Cowboy, Chris Heisey. So there's some pop in the bench, in this bench for the Nationals. Like they've been 1 or 2 in pinch hitting all season long in the National League. That's jerked foul up in the upper deck. Been a pretty good run for Woody. Was not allowed to run in his last 4 appearances. Pitched an inning with 1 hit in Colorado on Monday, the game that the Reds won in Denver.
Yeah, I think some of these guys out of the bullpen, things went so south early. It seemed like the pressure was turned up unbearably high. And there's no doubt that a guy like Blake Wood or J.C. Ramirez, they have the stuff to be able to be successful up here. It's all about pitch sequencing and making the right pitch in a located area.
No balls, 2 strikes. Fouled off to the left side. 1 runner on as Wood comes in. That run of the responsibility of Finnegan. But I guess, Cowboy, if you're a reliever, I mean, the red badge of courage is inherited runners. That's what you want to save.
Yeah, and you look at Blake Wood, and he's yet to allow a runner to score that he's inherited in any ball game, whether the bullpen was going good, bad, or ugly. And he's inherited 12 runs before tonight, 13 with a runner standing at first base, and none have scored. That's the kind of guy that the starters love to come in when they go out.
Got him. Down and in. Nasty pitch. Wood strikes out the first batter. He faces Espinosa. Lobaton in the on deck circle, but here's Clint Robinson, who will come in to pinch hit.
That is a 93-mile-an-hour slider. Gets on top of it just enough. Look at that bullet spin. Instead of the ball having a little loop to it as it breaks, the ball looks like a fastball, and then the bottom falls out of it. I think a lot of times young pitchers think that if they can see the big break on the curveball or the slider, that means it's really good. It's the opposite. If you can't see it, but the catcher can see it cut, or that last little bit of movement. That's when you really fool the hitter. That last 3 feet as the ball gets to the hitter, that's when you want the ball to move.
Big power in this guy. Clint Robertson, who's been around a little while. 4 for 14 as a pinch hitter this year. One of the reasons why the Nationals are hitting so well off the bench. Play some outfield. Get a start here or there. A double, a homer, and a run batted in, and 3 walks as a pinch hitter so far this year.
Robinson likes that ball close to him. See Brandon Phillips already moving around towards the pull side.
Ball and a strike to the heavy swinging left-hand bat. This Nationals bench, their pinch hitting group, 8 home runs on the season. And that's a strike on the inside corner.
That's the benefits for Wood, getting the ball away from arm side. He can start the ball just an inch or 2, maybe 3 off the outside corner, and he's got such good movement he can bring it right back to the edge. The hitter sees it as a ball and gives up on it.
1-2 in the dirt. Nice block by the Reds catcher Ramon Cabrera.
Split-fingered fastball. Well, the bottom fell out of that bad
nasty
boy.
drop. You can feel it when you see it in real motion. You can amaze at it when you see it in slow motion. Well, Woody continues his good roll. Brian Price rakes the right move here in the 7th. Reds by 4, 5-1.
Here, GABP. The Reds and St. Vincent de Paul are teaming up to strike out hunger. Tonight and tomorrow, they're collecting non-perishable food items. Anyone that brings 3 non-perishable items to the ballpark will receive a free ticket to a Reds game, 1 ticket per person. And you can donate at Gate B, Gapper's Alley, through the 4th inning tomorrow. And I got to tell you, if you think, well, 3 non-perishable items won't go that far. Last year, they provided 12,000 meals for some struggling families in the Cincinnati area. Every little bit counts, and it's going on again tomorrow. So if you're coming to the yard, help out a family.
Well said, JD. Good idea. Here's Yusmeiro Petit, former Giant reliever, one of 4 right-handers in this bullpen for the Nationals. He'll face The top of the order, Zach Kozar. Changes for the Nationals as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Defensively, Robinson will stay in the game. But Robinson is your first baseman. That'll mean that Daniel Murphy will move from first to second. There's the big left-handed swinger. Murphy moves from first to second. And then Trey Turner moves from second to short. Hit pretty good to left. Going back. Looking up at the wall. Gonna be gone. How about Zach Kozart, Cowboy? Home run number 8. Second run batted in. The Reds get that run back. They lead by 5 again.
Seems like every time Kozar gets a fastball, he does that. Flat bat, stays right on top of it. Doesn't try to get underneath it. Gets his hands up at ball level and just crushes it.
Congrats abound in the Reds dugout. Cincinnati leads it by 5 again. Now 6-1. Here's Joey. Votto doubled his first time up, was left stranded, and struck out his last 2 times up. So Gonzalez day done. He goes 6 innings and allows 5 runs. Petit allows a run to the first batter he faces. And the numbers close after the good job by Wood. Finnegan 6 1/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, 110 pitches for Brandon Finnegan. So another good start for a Red starter. And a good job by Wood to close the door. And here's Joey. You had to like what you saw from Finnegan tonight, Cowboy.
No doubt about it. I thought he kept the ball in the strike zone. He attacked the hitters. It helps a lot, George, as you know, when your team gets you a run or 2 early in the ball game, much less 4 that they dropped on Gonzalez in the 2nd inning. That way you don't feel like you have to be perfect with every pitch. That way you don't feel like if I hang a breaking ball and he hits it out, then I'm going to lose the ball game. You just pitch and you know you got a little room to work with.
And Gonzalez, after the runs in the 2nd inning and the home run in the 3rd, he retired 10 of 11 that he faced. Only the single by Suarez. Everything else was on the beam. So you were right. After he got comfortable and got his rhythm and didn't have to work from the stretch, he was a different pitcher.
That's why we were talking about at the beginning of the ball game. A veteran pitcher, you get them early, because once they settle in, they've got that rhythm and they've got their location down.
2-2 to Votto. Bouncer down to first, but foul. Great to have you with us. George Grant and the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley down by the dugout, JD, Jim Day. Down in the truck, Brian Hunterman, our producer. Uncle Roy Alfers. Still chugging along after the long road trip. He's directing tonight. Kevin Penowit and Jim Miller, our associate producers. Votto fouls it off. And our pregame crew, as usual, on top of things. Good to be back home. Kent Dreamweaver, Ron Millenor, making sure that the homestand gets off in the right way. And don't forget, when this one's over, JD and Jeff Picoro, the whole crew will be keeping you up to date on what's transpiring from the clubhouse. Bouncer to the right side. Quick flip to first. That'll retire Votto. It'll go as 6-3 as the shortstop takes care of that. There's one away, and here comes Phillips. Hey, cheer on your Reds when they take on the Oakland A's and save with the 4 for $48 ticket offer. Thanks to Reach Magazine, you can get 4 view level tickets plus 4 Reds hats for only $48. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com. Here's Brandon. Phillips struck out, singled in the Reds' 3rd and 4th runs in the 2nd, and then bounced out in the 5th. Funny how things go, Cowboy. I don't think there was anybody that Dusty Baker wanted more in the offseason once he took the job of the Nationals than that guy. Number one, he and Brandon meshed well here in Cincinnati. Number two, he knew Brandon could be his leadoff hitter. Number 2 or number 3 or number 4. This one blooped into right. That's a base hit. He's 2 for 4. Plus, he knew that Brandon would know how he runs a clubhouse. And he thought he'd be a big hit in downtown Washington as a member of the Nationals. The Reds and the Nationals had talked about a possible deal. Brandon did not want to leave with 2 years left on his contract unless he got a new contract in Washington. So it never came to fruition. The Nationals went on, signed Daniel Murphy. Good sign for them. And the Reds still have BP at second base, having a good year. Here's Jay, the lone Red starter without a base hit so far.
He may hit this one with the moon.
Bruce 1 for 4 in his career against Petit. Wide 3-0. Dismero may be thinking the same thing. Ramos, the new catcher, flashes his signs for Petit. On the corner, there's a strike.
3-0 changeup. I think Petit knows exactly what Bruce can do, especially pitching in a Giants uniform all those years and watching Bruce tear them up.
That's the second outside pitch that Bruce thought was a ball tonight. It was called a strike. So we'll go full 3-2.
Just a bit outside.
Thank you, Harry. They'll get one at second. And turn 2. Harry Carey originated it. Bob Uecker made it famous. Bruce bounces into a double play. And they're hanging to see if there'll be a challenge. Up at the top of the dugout steps for the Reds is Brian Price. He motioned to the crew chief. Another look. Not much to show there. No challenge. Reds get the home run from Cozart, and they lead it 6-1. 58 at the new ballpark by the river, Great American Ballpark. The Reds 6 runs, 11 hits, no errors, 4 left on. Brandon Finnegan started 6 1/3, 5 hits, a run, 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, 110 pitches. He pitched dandy. The Nationals, a run, 5 hits, no errors, 4 left. Blake Wood came in to get the final 2 outs, both strikeouts in the 7th inning. And here we go to the 8th.
George, I'm being told that Pocono is in Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
Long Pond.
And on a different note, the game is being watched in Bora Bora by 2 Reds fans. Actually,
Bora and Bora.
Bora Bora. I think his wife is a Washington fan, but he is a Reds fan. So there you go.
She'll convince him. There's a bouncer down the line, over the bag and fair, rounding first. Going to second will be Ramos, up for the first time, hitting in the 9th spot, the pitcher spot in the order. So Wilson Ramos first at bat. He bounces one down the line for a 2-base hit.
Hanging slider in the middle of the plate, and Ramos just hooks it down the line. That is the top spin ball I was talking about earlier. Takes a bounce at the plate, and once it hits the ground right around third base, it just takes off like a jet.
Well, leadoff hitter on here in the 8th. Here's Ben Revere, the center fielder. Bounced out, popped up.
You've got yourself a 6-1 lead. The last thing that you want to do is get yourself behind in the count and walk guys and allow the Nationals to feel like they can come back.
And that'll be in the dirt and kick away. The runner will go to third.
Sometimes as a pitcher, George, when you're on the mound, your thought process is, I don't want to give up a run ever. But sometimes you have to manage the game. It's a 6-1 ball game. You gave up a leadoff double. Now you're trying to throw the ball too hard, trying to do too much, and now you've got a guy standing at third. You got to forget about the guy at third and just start getting outs.
2 balls, no strikes to the center fielder for the Nationals, and now it's 3-0.
See, this is where you create a major problem for your manager, because you're trying to do so much not to let that runner score from third, whereas if you just get an out here, the air comes out of the bag and everything smooths back out.
That's a strike. 3-1. Tony Cingrani has gotten up and started to loosen in the Reds bullpen. Down to first. Votto will take it. The run will score. So Revere is retired for the first out of the inning. After the double and the wild pitch, crossing the plate will be Ramos. 1 out, and here comes Turner. Hey, be part of Super Saturdays this season at Great American Ballpark. Saturday, June the 11th. The first 25,000 fans will receive a Reds Garden Gnome thanks to Miracle Grow. Catch all the action June the 11th for only $12. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Here comes Turner. Bounce right back through the middle. Who'll get there? Under the glove of Phillips after it goes off the hand of Wood and off the bag at second. So it'll be an infield hit for Turner. He has his 3rd hit. He's 3 for 3 and a walk tonight. Talk about a pinball machine. I mean, Wood could have had it with his bare hand. If it doesn't skip off the corner of the bag, Phillips probably would have had it. As it is, it goes as a base hit. And trouble at the plate in the form of Bryce Harper. They pretty much handled him tonight. He bounced into a double play in the first. He singled to center and then flied to right in the 6th. you and I used to have the conversation, how do you pitch to Barry Bonds? How do you pitch to Albert Pujols? There is no simple way, but if you're out there, how do you pitch to Bryce Harper?
I think you have to pitch him in. He's looking to spin on anything. We saw him deliver the left center field gap shot earlier. You cut it in, start it off the plate, sink it back. Wood has had that comeback fastball, starting it right at the front hip or the hands of the left-handed batters and letting it run back over the inside corner.
Wood facing last year's MVP for the first time in his career.
That's where they're going. Let's see if they can make it.
Yes. You nailed it. You had the right call. He had the right pitch, and they get a big out right there as Harper thinks it was low and inside. Laz Diaz gives Wood the call, and here's your second out.
Started off the plate, hitter sees it as a ball, and then it runs back to the corner, can't pull the trigger. Now if that ball starts on the plate and runs back to the middle, it's out there in the river.
So Harper retired on the strikeout, and here's Murphy. 2 ground balls to second tonight. You look at Murphy's approach, and in some respects it reminds you a little bit of Joey Votto. Like, he wants the ball away. He wants to try to hit the ball to left and left center, stay in the middle of the ballpark. The difference is last year he started to turn on some balls and got more power into his numbers. But like you said about Harper, you still want to try to get in on him, huh?
Yes. Murphy's one of those types of hitters that if you can cut the ball in on his hands, you're going to really decelerate his bat speed. Or he'll do that.
From the player of the month last month, he had a 9-game hitting streak in the month of May. That hitting streak sitting at 11 tonight. 0 for 3 so far.
And I guarantee you he knows.
Came in as the league's leading hitter at 394. In his month of May, he had 47 hits. Unbelievable month. And for the franchise record, anytime we get a chance to mention this guy, we love to do it. He tied Al Oliver, the former Montreal Expos, Scoop, for 47 hits in a month. Scoop did it in '82. And Marquise Grissom, Grip, did it in June of '94. 47 hits in a month. 1-2 again. Got him. How about Wood? 4 strikeouts and 2 innings of work. That's the kind of work the bullpen needs. into the golf zone. Our PGA pro Jimmy Hanlon shows you terrific tips to lower your handicap and talks with you about this weekend's Memorial Tournament in the northern part of the state. Get inside the golf zone with Jimmy Hanlon, presented by American Eagle Mortgage and Varmint Guard. Sunday at 8 on Fox Sports Ohio. Dublin, Ohio is the spot. And the guy who was on the spot last inning, Blake Wood, came through. 2 strikeouts in his first inning of work, 2 strikeouts in his second inning of work. He and his catcher Ramon Cabrera reliving 2 pretty good innings. By the way, we got a college baseball update. We know Mississippi State won this afternoon.
That is correct. 9-5.
Hit pretty good to left. Going back. Looking at the wall. Over the wall and gone. Adam Duvall continues his red hot streak. Home run number 50. Another 2-hit game. A double and a homer. And the Louisville native cashes in. The Reds play add-on in this one. 7-2 Cincinnati.
There are certain batters that come to the plate, and when the ball comes off their bat, you kind of sit back a little bit like, oh man. And Adam Duvall is that kind of guy. And increasing his ability to make contact increases those kinds of swings.
Cozart is homered. He gets a smile. Adam is homered. He gets a smile.
Speaking of Zach Cozart, the Ole Miss Rebels are losing to Utah 2-1 in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Here's Suarez, right center field, at the wall, looking up. Revere has it. He gave that one a long ride before Revere hauls it in. Joel Luckham, that's the biggest smile we've seen on Cowboys' face tonight as he reads the Ole Miss score, huh?
All right, I've got my dig in. You know, George, Marty and I were talking about how playing in a ballpark like Coors Field can get your mojo back, get you feel good about your swing, and then you carry that momentum into your next series and then on beyond that. And it seems like that's exactly what the Reds have done here tonight.
Here's Billy. 1 for 3, base hit that kept the rally going in the second. Suarez came within an eyelash of his second homer of the game, another 3-hit game to back up the 3-hit game he had last night in Denver. Final score, by the way, down in Louisville. Cardinals 6, Western Michigan 1, so Louisville wins as well. Ohio State playing in the second game down there. Xavier is playing tonight, but they're under a rain delay at their regional, so no score yet. That's a pop-up. Hamilton retired, second out of the 8th inning.
Where is Xavier playing?
They're in Tennessee.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
That's going to be a tough region.
Here's Ramon. Good night for him tonight. He and Brandon Finnegan were on the same page all night. Picked a couple of balls out of the dirt as well. And in addition, has a base hit, 1 for 3. (7-2) Cincinnati. J.C. Ramirez loosening in the bullpen for the Reds. Changeup way out in front. Cabrera. Oh, 2. Hopped up, heading back as Ramos will run out of room though. know, so far a very productive night for a Cincinnati Reds team that took 3 of 4 in Denver, and then Adam Duvall and his teammates didn't get in. Ryan Price didn't get out of the bus until 4:30 this morning. They slept fast though, like you, Cowboy.
I don't know if I slept fast, but I got here. This is what you do. It's what you do. I would imagine, though, George, as we get closer to the collective bargaining agreement with the owners and the players are going to be pretty adamant about the fact that these night games and traveling all the way across the country have got to stop.
Yeah, ironically, I mean, in talking with Walt Weiss, the Colorado Rocky manager, the players on that club did not want to play a night game either. They were going to San Diego, but the Rockies organization wanted a night game, not a day game.
Well,
so they didn't even listen to their own players.
Comes down to the game.
Swing and a miss, and held on to by Ramos. So Adam Duvall gives the Reds a little bit of a pad. Another 2-hit game for him. Home run number 15. The Reds lead by 5 going to the 9th. As we promised you earlier tonight, Miller Time brought to you by Miller Lite. Finnegan pitched great. In came Blake Wood. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 strikeouts in 2 innings of work. That got a handshake from everybody in the dugout, and it helped Brandon Finnegan sit a little more comfortably in that dugout as the Reds take a 7-2 lead heading into the top of the 9th inning. So Finnegan pitched great. Wood followed up with 2 innings of strong relief. Did give up 1 run.
And both of those guys, George, very aggressive within the strike zone. I think that's the thing that Brian Price and Mark Riggins are trying to get across to these young pitchers. You can't dance around the edges of the plate. You have got to get to the mound and go get them.
By the way, you saw sitting right next to Wood is Homer Bailey. Homer will be back off the mound tomorrow for the first time since having that setback. He was out long tossing today in the outfield. Good to see him back and smiling. It'll be even better to see him on the mound along with Anthony DeSclafani, Iglesias, Lorenzen, some of the guys you hope will be coming up the pike during the course of this season. Here's Jason Worth. He homered in the 7th with 1 out, his 9th homer of the year. That came on a 3-2 pitch against Brandon Finnegan. High in the air down the right field line. Is anybody going to get there? It will be in the seats.
See, that's the pitch there that I would like to see from Ramirez more often. Hard slider. Starts in the middle of the plate, gets to the outside corner, and really fools the batter. He's got such velocity and such movement coming into the right-handed batters. When he throws that slider, all he's got to do is start it there and get it close to the plate. If you bounce the ball, it never starts in the strike zone.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Worth, Rendon, swing and a miss.
Little Amos Moses and a Louisiana Bayou.
Can you sing that for us? You know, we talk a lot about the offense and the 2 good starting performances, but the trip to Denver meant even more for this guy, number 66, because J.C. Ramirez picked up his first ever save on that trip, and he was cradling the ball when we left yesterday like it was a piece of gold, wasn't he?
Hey, when you get your first one, there's only 1 first save. Like there's only 1 first hit.
How about your first save?
I got it on the same day I got my first hit.
Not bad. Good way to start it.
First pitch I swung at, I got a hit. First game, that game, I got a save as well. And it came against the Dodgers.
Sweet.
All the more sweet. Of course, at the time, I'm getting the save, or I got the hit. Standing at first base, they roll the ball over to the Giants dugout. Mike Kruko's standing there. And he takes the ball and throws it in the stands. And I'm like, what? I just got a hit. But I didn't realize that he had another ball in his pocket. That's the one that he threw into the stands, and he put the hit ball in his pocket.
1-2 to Rendon, fouled off, and now after knowing Kruko for 20-some-odd years, he's done that to a lot of people, huh?
If you could only tell the real stories on TV.
There's Chris Heisey, the former Red, in the on-deck circle, with the pitcher spot due up next. There's the 1-2 from Ramirez, fouled off. Hey, don't forget, following tonight's game and every game, we've got Reds Live post-game right here on Fox Sports Ohio, sponsored by Performance Kings Honda. Jim Day, Jeff Pecora, everybody standing by. We always look forward to the post-games where we do an interview on the field, because that means a W. Tardy on that, big swing. Back-to-back strikeouts. How about the Reds bullpens? Maligned this year, but Wood, 2 strikeouts in the 7th, 2 strikeouts in the 8th. Here, J.C. Ramirez, 2 strikeouts in the 9th.
Well, we're starting to see a little bit of maturity and aggression in the strike zone. Sometimes you have to reach rock bottom before you realize that you have to change. And things went so south for this bullpen early. Now you're starting to see guys, all right, this is what I've got. See if you can hit it. And that's what you're supposed to do.
Here's Chris Heisey, the former Red, got a nice round of applause as he was announced. Well liked by the fans, well liked by his teammates. But right now he represents the final out in what could be a Reds opening win of this homestand. That's down and away. You know, after having 17 runs scored against the Reds on Tuesday in Denver, this team could have gone into the tank.
Yeah.
The 2 wins there and the way they bounced back, that was, for me, one of the most impressive moments of the year for this group of Reds. They didn't give up. They didn't quit.
It's a character check.
Heisey, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Key for the Reds now is to understand this is what we have to do to play competitive baseball and bring it to the park every single day.
And on the hands, foul back, 1 and 2. Two strikeouts from Finnegan, 4 strikeouts from Wood, 2 strikeouts from Ramirez, and we're here within 1 strike of closing the door in the 9th. Slap foul and out of play.
The object of a team, George, and you know this as well as I do, you come to the ballpark not hoping to win or trying to win, but knowing you're going to win. That is the difference. It is the mental makeup of the 25 guys that you run out there every day.
Ramirez strikes at the side in the 9th. The Reds bullpen comes up with 7 strikeouts in 3 innings. From a power standpoint, the Reds put 7 on the board, win this one by a final of 7-2. And here's an early taste of Friday night fireworks at Great American Ballpark. Smiling scoreboard tonight, Cowboy, and for good reason, huh?
Outstanding job not only by Brandon Finnegan. Offense, runs early. I don't know that you could draw it up any better. And you look at that bullpen at the end of the ball game, they just flat slammed the door.
Our Volkswagen drive of the game tonight, just as we promised you. Eugenio Suarez singled in a run his first time up, homered to make it 5-0, and Adam Duvall also added a homer. So our drive of the game, Eugenio Suarez and Adam Duvall came up with the big shots. More to talk about after these messages on Fox Sports Ohio.